This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.
चरणं भव राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री 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 राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम 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 श्री राम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम Shri Rama 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 Raja Ram. Raghupati Raghava, Raghupati Raghava, Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. Patita Pavana Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram. Patita Pavana Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram. Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram Jaya, Sita Ram. Jai Rama 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 Ram, Jai Rama 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 Rama, Jai Rama 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 Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram. Pani sa pani sa pa sa ni pani sa ni pani sa ga sa ni pani sa ga sa ni pani sa ga 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 ga. Jai Ram, Jai Thank you all.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas. I'm probably repeating what you just said, but many times we feel that if there is sort of fast-paced rhythm, then it'll take away that serene sort of a spiritual feel from the music. But in this case, it was quite amazing.
Because what she did in many cases is that while the rhythm was going faster, her singing was overlapping over several avartanas, we call it, cycles. So she was not singing in staccato the same kind of rhythm, but stretching it over the rhythm, while the rhythm was the background that was coming in to punctuate it. But her singing was, you know, overlapping that. So that stretch is what gave it, continued to retain the spirituality and the mood with which Raghupati Raghava Rajaram is sung. And at the same, and I like the name, this march, you know, the soul march, and its connection to the Dandi Kuch, the salt satyagraha. And for me, it was a very personal thing, to tell you the truth, because my father was in Sabarmati and he was with Gandhiji, and he was one of the 78 people who marched in the salt satyagraha. So to me, it brought tears to my eyes, because it was a very personal story for me, not just a story. There is a story, and then there is a real story. That was it. So for me, it was a very wonderful experience, as I can say personally.
Personally, I feel elated knowing that out of those 78 persons who walked with Gandhiji, here's the daughter of one of them, and it's incredible how history sort of
reflected in our lives, whether it's music or it is history or it is politics or it is teaching or it is just interpersonal connections. I think somewhere all this, we are all interwoven into this and it comes through. But today was that experience for me.
It's a great fabric, and if I ask you to think imaginatively, Salt March or Dandi March, of course, was a protest. And now, if you are to take Soul March as a protest, then what would be this protest against?
I am not sure I got
Okay,
the question.
this Soul March, if we consider this to be also a kind of musical protest, then this protest is against what?
Oh, I think, I guess, looking at it from her point of view, you can interpret it differently, and so can I. But as far as I can see, what she is saying is that same message that we have leave all this and march on towards the Satya and be agrahi about it, that is, insist on truth, and to take this message forward of accommodation and peace and compromise, not compromise with truth, but compromise in terms of not regarding your enemy as an enemy, but as somebody with whom you can make friends. So I think the spirituality of the message in the Kuch, in the march protest is very good because it has that marching rhythm while she has maintained that element of spirituality. So I thought it was wonderful experience.
सीताराम 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 राम सीताराम 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 राम सीताराम राम राम सीताराम राम राम सीताराम 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 राम राम सीताराम राम राम सीताराम राम राम सीताराम
Well, I think in the Charukesh, she sang it in three different ways, beginning with Paluskar's rendition, which is a classic rendition, and then went into Charukeshi and then into Jog. Now, what Chandrika is this very creative. So the main thing was not to lose the bhakti, the devotional strain in it, and the kind of spiritual message that the song has, musically, I mean, not just words. So she kept that thread, which was wondrous to me, while adding this whole lot of orchestra, which tends to, because of the speed and because of the rhythm, one would think that it was more like a jazz piece, but while it had that, it did not lose the other aspect of it, which is extremely creative. I thought it was very well done. And I've known her for a very, very long time. She's actually worked with me. We both worked together on a number of dance and music things. We're good friends. And I have always found her extremely creative and very spiritual at the same time. And these qualities reflect in her rendition today.
Soul March's message is that of, it's really an album which is a tribute to everybody who's seeking freedom. Because, if you look at when this song or a version of this song was sung a lot, this was during Gandhi's Salt March. That's why I thought of the title Soul March. But while you had Gandhi and the Salt March and the Satyagrahis going for seeking freedom and seeking the whole voice of truth, you also have so many freedom movements that have come since. You've had Martin Luther King, and then you've got activists, big and small, who are all working so hard to fight injustice or to fight various causes, whatever the causes are. So as I was composing this in different rhythms, different ragas, different scales, different instruments, I was mentally paying a tribute to all of these marches around, and marches not in the grand sense, but also the small and the big marches.
In some strange way, there is a common thing between you and Mahatma Gandhi, and that is related to leadership, leading through the frequency of soul, I would say. And when you gather nearly 75 musicians for an album which is basically with one line Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram as its theme. Uh, and all these people not well versed with Indian culture or have no clue from that point of view about where you are coming from. So connecting all them and bringing this harmony, it's an incredible journey for you, I feel internally.
It is, and in fact, it's not just Soul March. All the albums have been a journey, and it's been a journey of incredible learning because, in a lot of ways, I feel the divine is just working through me, and I'm more aware of it. I mean, the divine works through all of us. But I think what this has made me realize is how, this jab main tha, tab hari nahi, ab hari hai main nahi. So this Kabir's Doha. And I really think about it a lot more. I don't just think about it, I really think about it in terms of how my life is lived. Because when you get out of the way, the divine simply makes things happen. And it's been an extraordinary journey to watch these 75 musicians, to watch Tejendra Narayan Majumdar, who put a lot of the Indian musicians together, and then the musicians here that we brought together. You heard some of them tonight. And how they have enveloped the music and how they've interpreted it in their own way. I mean, I gave them the scales, I gave them the ragas, but then the way Romero played the guitar is his very own Brazilian version of Charukeshi. He was in scale and he did it. It's extraordinary to watch. So every time, in fact, in some of the rehearsals, I would have tears in my eyes thinking of how beautiful our music can be when you look at it with the prism of different cultures and different experiences. And in a lot of ways, in all my albums, and more so, it really has been this journey of going from, and you spoke about taking a single line, whether it was Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Raghupati Raghava Rajaram. What it does is that you no longer have to worry about what the words are. You can really concentrate on the music. You can concentrate on the ragas. You can suddenly start to think that, oh my God, can Raghupati Raghava Rajaram sound so different just by using a different scale and a different beat and a different rhythm? And yes, it does. So it's been an exciting musical exploration. It's been a human exploration. And as I said earlier, we've had the best musicians on the planet come together. It didn't take a village, it took a planet.
It took a planet, and also when Soul March is released here in New York, there is something international about it, and that is also a part of the way music reaches listeners from Soul March. There is something for youngsters as well as those who just want to hear in a soulful manner. So, has that been an unconscious attempt on your part, or it just happened that it has such a wide range?
In all of the albums, I would really be remiss if I said I created them, because I really think once you sit down and start to think about the music simply flows through me. And I think in a lot of rhythms, for example, Jog, I literally sat with the keyboards and I was trying to just, when late night, and the bossa nova beat just came along. I would have to say it came along. And then the next thing you can start to, you can start to like play with the music and the rhythms and the words. See, the other thing is, over the last 30 years, I've spent my whole life in the business world. And I've traveled everywhere, and I've learned a lot of the languages really through music. I've lived in Brazil, I've lived in France, I've lived in South America, so many parts of South America, I've lived in so many parts of Europe. So these musical influences, when I hear a scale, when I hear a raga, I'm not only hearing a raga, I'm hearing so many other things. I'm always looking for connections. And the older I get, I think by the time I'm 80, I will understand better all the connections. But even now, I think it's very exciting to hear the connections.
So, just the last thing, you are understanding the connection as well as making it happen for others to experience that sense of connectivity through your music. And you mentioned about celebration. You mentioned about celebrating freedom or aspiring for freedom through your music. Elaborate a little bit more on that in terms of, as I was listening to you, sometimes you feel that it grows and the range keeps on expanding. So I was just wondering, as a singer, do you ever feel that if this limit goes away, there'll be no sense of identity, and maybe you consciously want to hold on to limit, if you know what I mean.
I do, and I think music, it's been exciting when we started the rehearsals, and it's not just the rehearsals. Whenever we got the musicians together, I had outlines, I had composed the pieces, and I knew what I wanted to have happen. But we literally spoke through music. Um, and so basically the conversation would happen, and then you might be speaking through a Brazilian charukeshi, and I might be speaking through another charukeshi, or somebody might be speaking through a bossa nova charukeshi or a rumba charukeshi. And I think those are different conversations, as opposed to just doing a classical, Hindustani classical charukeshi or a South Indian Carnatic charukeshi, and both are very different interpretations. So what has been exciting for me to watch is this confluence. And music is the easiest way, it's been interesting. Many of these guys had never really worked with Indian music, but within half an hour, we were jamming with all sorts of ideas. And by the way, any of these could have been played for 45 minutes or an hour, just as you would do a bandish in a concert. But except for it being a bandish, each of these guys would express their individual styles, and you could have a major piece. And I think it's a different idea. My own thought, though, in the album, and this is very important for me to communicate, the album is not about expressing my virtuosity in the music. I compose music so simply, even though the musicians are brilliant and from the best, really I consider the best of the planet. I compose them simply so that everybody can sing along. I want this to be a shared expression. I think when you go to the gospel choir, if you go to a church, it's extraordinary to see the joy of everybody coming together and singing. And that's why I run the community choir, so that people can sing. Music is not for me to be singing alone by myself. It is so that you and I can sing together. It's that groups of people can sing together. So the joy is multiplied by a millionfold.
Wonderful, that's great. Would you like to oblige us just by humming one or two lines to multiply the joy?
So in Charukeshi, we've spoken about this so much. So the tune goes, Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sitaram, 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 Sabko Sanmati De Bhagwan, Sitaram, 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 Ram Ram, Sitaram, 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 Ram Ram, Sitaram, Ram Ram, Sitaram, Ram Ram, Sitaram, 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 Ram Ram.
Wonderful, and she also gave a fresh interpretation of Rama, or probably shared that meaning, which was?
Ram is a very beautiful word which basically means the divine light inside me. Ra is the sun, Ra is light. Ma in Sanskrit is mama, which is inside me, my. So the light of mine, Rama. So when I think of Rama, it is that light inside of me. Sabko sanmati de Bhagavan. Give everybody wisdom. Give me wisdom.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and lots of good wishes.
Thank you, Ashok. Bye.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.